Right, I'll get to the point straight away at the beginning of this video. Some of the footage on this video is compromised because the weather has been pants again. It has quite literally done nothing but rain for 2 months. It's cold, the garage is damp, the cameras don't react very well to this, and getting the footage together for this video has been the devil's own job. But you've all been asking what's happened to the PayDay project series, a 2010 Triumph Bonneville T100, a project that I started with Motone Customs just over 2 years ago. The short answer is nothing's happened to it, it is still ongoing. The longer answer is basically because of the way this channel has developed and because of changes that YouTube have made to the platform, it has become more difficult to include the PayDay project series in the channel's normal uploads. It's a real shame, but YouTube is changing dramatically at the moment, and there is a danger to all channels that if your viewing figures are not where they should be, you're now looking at a very strong possibility your channel could be deleted. Now, I think this is a subject for a channel update, which I haven't done this month so far, and I don't think I'm going to get time, but I will cover that in more detail in the future. Before we get started, Motone have asked me to let you know that their annual Black Friday sales have started early this morning today. Discount across their product range until the close of business on Sunday with a staggering 22% off with a code, and that code is included in the video description down below. Now, you might remember back in September Motone introduced the Boss, a solid engineering brass CNC machine steering head nut for the water-cooled twins. This has been a runaway success. I knew at the time that Motone were also developing one for the air-cooled twins, but the development side of it was a couple of months behind the original Boss. In the meantime, they have been inundated with requests for one for the air-cooled twins, also with a lot of people asking if the original Boss will fit the air-cooled twins. Unfortunately, it doesn't. The dimensions and threads are completely different. But I'm pleased to say that as of last week, Motone do have a limited stock of these, and they are to be named the Boss Mark II. So it's the Boss Mark I for the liquid cooled twins and the Boss Mark II for the air cooled twins. Fitting is pretty much the same, but I will quickly go through it with you. I'm also going to be fitting Motone's Quicksilver Airblade, a really high quality polished alloy sort of fly screen replacement or wind deflector that's been engineered not only to look good but also to remove as much wind force from the body, chest and shoulders as can possibly be achieved with a fly screen format. Now, hang around for this because I hated this Airblade when it was first shown to me, but I have been converted and I'll explain the reasons why later on. There is also a shorter version in a brushed black finish for those of you that don't want something quite as tall. And although these were designed for the water-cooled and air-cooled Bonneville range, they are, to all intents and purposes, universal. So I may have a look in the new year at fitting the shorter version to the Interceptor 650. Right, back to the Boss Mark II. Fitting on the air-cooled bikes is actually substantially easier than with the water-cooled twins. The simple reason being because of the way everything has been arranged with your handlebars. The steering nut is accessible without having to remove those handlebars, which quite literally cuts the whole process down to about 5 minutes from start to finish. First things first, protect your tank. Use a blanket, a towel, whatever you can get your hands on to cover the tank up and protect it from drop tools or tool slippage. It's better to be safe than sorry. Then you'll need a 30mm socket and some sort of breaker bar. Now, as you saw at the beginning of this video, I did actually put the T100 onto a bike jack. I did that primarily to keep it stable and make it easier for me to get the correct camera angles. It's not actually necessary. Just leaving the bike on its side stand or its main stand, if it has one, is all that you need to do. The important thing is that the bike is stable. Turn your handlebars to full left lock, and then using your 30mm socket and your breaker bar, loosen that nut off and remove it. Then take your Boss Mark II and replace the original steering nut with that Mark II, just fastening it up finger tight initially. Then turn your steering to full right lock. To prevent your socket from damaging that highly polished brass finish on the Boss, cover it with a workshop wipe or a thin rag, and then using a torque wrench adjusted to 90 Newton meters, that's 90 Newton meters, carefully tighten it up. If you blinked, you probably missed it, because that's the job done. Brass is a fantastic, traditional, tried and tested engineering material that looks right on just about any level of build. A material that Motorn Customs have popularised over the last couple of years. And I couldn't help noticing that brass is featuring on a lot of the big builds that I saw on the stands at the NEC this year. A material that has been noticeably absent for decades. Right, moving on to Motorn's Quicksilver Airblade. As you know, I don't review items or fit them to my bikes if I don't like them. I'll give Motorn the due, they never pressurise me to review anything. They'll frequently send parts along to me to see what I think of them, and that's that. They never really mention it again. I had seen some pictures that Motorn had taken prior to receiving this, and I just took an instant dislike to it. It didn't look right to me for some reason. And I think they actually sent this Airblade through to me about 6 months ago. And although I was really impressed with the actual part itself when I unwrapped it and had a look, I still had those images that I'd seen in my head, and it was just repacked, put away and forgotten about. And really, I should have trusted Motorn on this. I have been caught out a few times recently where I've formed an opinion about something and I've later been proved to be wrong, and that's a really difficult thing for a Yorkshireman to say. They recently sent through to me their brushed black anodised short version of the Airblade, and to cut a long story short, we had a conversation where they persuaded me to fit the Quicksilver Airblade to the T100 simply to see what I thought about it, not necessarily to do a video. That was up to me. And so I went ahead and did it. And I was gobsmacked. I love it. And it clicked with me what the problem was. The Quicksilver version of this product has a mirror finish to it, a mirror finish silver shine. And those kind of finishes are notoriously impossible to photograph and make them look good. And that was what the problem was, because in real life, it looked fantastic to me. Now, I'm not going to do a full fitting video as such, because that would just be insulting your intelligence. Actually fitting it is simplicity itself. Now, both the Airblade Tall and the Airblade Short are cut from 50/52 aluminium, and then Motorn made it difficult for themselves, because in order to get the aerodynamic shape that they required, needed a special pressing tool made for it to be able to be pressed into shape, and those pressing tools are ridiculously expensive. Which is why more often than not, when you see an aluminium wind deflector or number plate or whatever you want to call them, they are more or less just flat plate, because the manufacturers don't want to spend that level of money producing them. First off, one thing that photographs and video don't convey to you are the feel and the quality of an item like this. The level of manufacture is flawless. It's a really complicated sort of curved three-faceted shape, which is intended to separate and clean up the airflow up and away from the shoulders. It's a work of art that Elon Musk would be proud of, that has a real 1960s science fiction pop culture look to it. A design influence that, as we all know, was very popular on bikes and motorcars in the 1960s. The bracket's designed to hold it in place. Generally speaking, with these sort of items, even the high-end ones tend to be very plain and workmanlike affairs. But that's not how Motorn Customs do things. They've put a lot of thought and a lot of effort into these brackets. They're made from brushed stainless steel, and they've incorporated what I would describe as a sort of a spacecraft bulkhead pattern into them, which, when it's all assembled and put onto the bike, just looks the business. Now, it comes with all the fasteners that you'll need, all in stainless steel. And if you're fitting it to the standard Triumph Bonneville headlamp brackets, Motorn have also included some extra long Allen bolts and some stainless steel washers. I didn't need these because I have the Motorn Customs headlamp brackets fitted to the T100, so I just reused the fasteners that were already in place. On the inside of the wind deflector, in order to achieve that flawless finish on the front of the wind deflector, there are brackets welded into place ready to accept your mounting brackets. Again, this is an extravagant method of construction of the type that Motorn are famous for. This is not an attachment method you will normally see because it's far easier and a lot cheaper for a manufacturer to simply drill some holes in the front of the screen and then offer you an angled bracket for attachment. Although it has to be said that that saving generally is added onto the profit margin rather than passed on to the customer. There are 4 short Allen bolts, 4 stainless steel nuts and 4 stainless steel locking washers. The brackets attach to the outer side of the lugs that are on the actual screen, with the bolts inserted from the outside, then your locking washer and then your nut, 2 on each side. It's then ready to attach to your bike. Fitting is really simple. All you do is you detach the 2 headlamp fixing bolts, insert the lower part of the brackets in between your headlamp and the headlamp bracket, and then push the bolts through and screw them into place to hold the screen in place. And that's basically all there is to it. There is some angle adjustment of maybe 4 or 5 degrees. Just bear in mind that the T100 I have here is not stock. It's got the Jota style adjustable handlebars lowered, and it also has the lay flat dash kit fitted, so the clocks themselves do lay a lot lower than they will on a standard bike. Now, I know this design and finish isn't going to be for everyone, but I think with the 2 lengths that are available, with the 2 finishes that will eventually be available, there is a configuration that is going to suit a lot of tastes. I do actually really regret that a stance that I took with these in the first place, and I do feel that I let Motorn down a little bit with this one, but we've got there now. With a deflector like this, you should be able to expect about a 20% decrease in wind pressure on your torso and your chest. It's not suddenly going to turn the bike into an autobahn mile muncher that will allow you to ride all day at 100 miles an hour without any wind pressure. That's not what these things are about. They're designed to reduce the wind flow and clean it up, no more than that. Once again, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate your views and the time that you take to view these videos. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you have, please leave a like and hit that subscribe button. I'll leave a link to both of these products in the video description down below. And don't forget, as of today through until Sunday evening, Motorn are running that Black Friday discount event, and that discount code will be in the video description down below for you to take advantage on while the event is running. I will of course be back next week, so until then, please ride safely and I will see you soon.